Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. So hopefully, if my screen is visible, you can see the market segmentation slides. Can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we will try to discuss and understand something about market segmentation. Market. So in market segmentation, we will try to understand our target market, and essentially there are certain properly categorized ways in which you can identify your target market. So the importance of identifying a target market is that it is not enough to know about only our product and services. We should also know about our customers and our potential customers. So from where our potential customers can come. That is extremely important. And there is a systematic way to go around these things. And that we will be discussing in today's lecture. So target market basically is a section of population at which your product or service is aimed at. They are different from the customer, so in the sense that people from the target market will convert as your customers, or sometimes they might turn out to be your loyal customers, or some of them may not become customers at all. So, but nevertheless, when you can identify your target market, then you can plan and program your strategies, be it marketing strategies, advertisement strategies, or even how differentiation of the product that you are selling could be sold to the different target markets. And it is very likely and highly possible to have more than one target market for any product or services. This happens all the time. So essentially what is done in market segmentation is you identify a particular population. It could be a global population, or it could be a country-wise population, or it could be a small population in a certain region of the world. And you divide this population into small and more refined and easily identified target markets. And the deeper you go, the better you try to understand that from where your target market can come from. So essentially, you have a broader level picture also, but uh, when you go from geographically wider area to a narrower area, you learn and understand better where your potential customers can come from. So this is essentially a way to keep things much more organized and systematic, because it is always in the nature of the things that when we learn to systematically target a particular problem or organize how we solve a particular problem, it becomes easier to tackle that problem. So when you can neatly identify a market segment, it will facilitate in greater understanding of the buyer's perception and personality. And once you catch hold of your buyer's perception and personality, then you can, launch your products and services in such a manner that it will directly hit those particular buyers, because you know how they're gonna behave, and you are literally taking advantage of the fact that you know about your customers' psyche. Secondly, market segmentation helps in better positioning of the product in the market. Now that you have evidence of how your potential customers behave and where they come from, it becomes much more evidence based, the positioning of the product in the market. And naturally, when you identify your market segments, it could be correlated to the effective marketing. So, is this clear till now? What is target market? What is market segmentation, and what is the importance of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So essentially, there are four ways to segment a particular market, and that doesn't mean that a product or service only uses one type of market segmentation. they might try to identify different types of market segment depending on these 4 categories. So they are demographic, geographic, behavioral, and psychographic market segmentation types. So these are 4 types of market segmentation. So as we discuss this, always keep in the back of your mind your innovation projects, and then try to think that which of the market segmentation or the combination of market segments could be used to identify your potential customers. So first we will be discussing demographic market segmentation. As the name suggests, in the demographic market segmentation, you try to identify a potential customer based on categories such as income, age, gender, religion, education, occupation, marital status, and family size. So the idea behind the demographic market segmentation is that people belonging to a particular demographic segmentation can be assumed to behave in a common manner, which could be used to leverage the sales of the product or the services. For example, a demographic market segmentation in which potential customers are identified based on their income level. And only to those specific people, you try to advertise a particular launch of your product and not to others. I mean, but basically you're targeting more to these people who are at the higher income level, and you know that generally they can purchase that kind of product. So that is what is one of the examples of demographic market segmentation. Any example of demographic market segmentation that you can identify in which in advertisement you saw that a particular product is marketed to people belonging to particular demographic segment in the population?
Exobar.
Sorry?
Exobar is marketed regarding family size.
So what is that? There's a lot of
Bar
noise on your end.
A bar to wash dishes. Exo.
Okay. Okay. So who are the target market for that?
Uh, People with joint families.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, 1
Other
BHK, 2 BHK flats.
yes, yes. So what kind
Uh,
of
Income
demographic?
depending on
Yes,
the income of people, or they depending
definitely.
on the family size.
Definitely. In fact, marital status also, yes. Family size, yes. Sorry. Any other example you can think of? So generally, I think sometimes we also see advertisements of higher education that try to look at this kind of education agency for your higher education, or try to contact us for higher education. So when they see someone browsing higher education websites, these kind of advertisements start also coming up on their computer screens. So this is a simple level market segmentation. And for that, obviously you need data to identify these things. And most of the companies achieve the results by market research. There is something called as market research. They sometimes outsource entire department to do this market research, or sometimes they use the reports by country experts like partners and other such firms, using the report of which they try to understand their demographic marketing segment. So this is how on paper you might look at demographic market segment in which the market has been identified. So this is just an example. Children aged 6 to 8, children aged 9 to 14, and 15 to 18. These are the 3 market segments within a particular group. And then similarly, based on occupation, like unskilled workers, traders, semi-professional, professional, and then on the x-axis there's this income, low, middle, medium, and upper. So this is how target market segments can be potentially identified using demographic factors. So for understanding demography, as I had said, that companies look at the research of how the people in particular demography are behaving, mostly these days gender, age, and in fact family status also. So, and these are the certain market research firms which are quite famous. Pew Research Center you must have come across. Statista is a data gathering site. It also sells insights. And then this is United Nations Census Bureau Business and Economy. So if you go to the United Nations Census Bureau Business and Economy page, you can look at certain research and findings that they have got. So for example, this is the research from the Pew Research Center. It's a very recent research, so this graph is trying to show the share of Americans say that the YouTube, Facebook remain one of the most widely used online platform among adults. So if your company were to see this research, and now you know that among adults, YouTube and Facebook are the most commonly used platforms, what kind of business decisions can you take when you look at such kind of information?
Ma'am, promoting ourselves on these platforms.
Yeah. So you would technically approach YouTube to increase the number of advertisements that you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is something, evidence and data play a very important role in market decisions and business planning. And so when you talk about demographic market recognition, it is always good to have some amount of evidence that what you think has actually been found and it actually exists. So please do visit the Pew Research Center website. And it's a very good website to be abreast with the most recent news, which is actually factually true and also good from business and science point of view. This is just one of the examples. In fact, when Facebook also, if you see 69% of adults are using, so companies which are trying to promote their business on Facebook, they might also try to leverage this advantage. And naturally, Facebook and YouTube earn revenue because of that. So a couple of more examples could be, if you see that if someone has an account on LinkedIn or some other website such as 2019internships.com or internshara.com, and you happen to create your profile over there, then few of the mails might come in your inbox telling you about certain kind of internships or the job offers. In case of scientific researchers, what I have found is that once you submit your paper in some journal or conference, essentially your name gets added in their database. And next time they are conducting some conference, then they try to send their emails onto you because they have come to understand that this is a particular chunk in the population who are interested in research. Another example could be fairness cream, but turns out could be a bad example for demographic market segmentation. But for a long time in India, now the controversy has stopped the advertisement of fairness creams. But for a long time, it was also promoted and could be considered a not so good example of demographic market segmentation. But that is how the product was advertised. And until then, the customers were not aware. Once they became aware of how it may be discriminating against a certain group of people, it was called off. So I hope demographic market segmentation is clear to all of you. It's a pretty straightforward classification. Moving on, we try to understand a geographic market segmentation. As the word suggests, in this kind of segmentation, you might attempt to categorize customers based on the geographic borders. Again, it is always worth remembering that when you are trying to categorize or segment population, what essentially you are trying to understand is the homogeneous group of people who can be assumed to behave in a common manner, which is directly related to the sales and purchase of your product or service. So in geographic market segmentation, sorry, zip code, city, country, radius from a certain location, or the type of climate, urban, rural, the region. So these are few of the parameters on which the geographic market segmentation can be done. A very simple example could be that there are car manufacturers who do not have setting in their cars for snowy weather. So they might try to target the customers who are living in warmer climate where vehicles do not need to be equipped for snowy weather. So you see, there's a lot of groundwork, a lot of homework, and a lot of dirty work that goes below the actual launching of the product that you see as customers. In fact, a simple thing as even putting the kind of hoarding on the road, a lot of decision also goes over there, and most of it is also navigated by who has much more money. But try to appreciate that through these lectures that a lot of deeper work goes through, which we might not be aware of when it comes to product launch or advertisements or marketing. So it's a very time-taking and resource-intensive process. Another example for geographic market segmentation could be that a shoe selling company. So it might sell boots for someone in the countryside, and it might sort of promote sandals for resort visitors. So products which match the climate preferences in a given region of the country. So think about COVID for a time and think about how COVID has been doing in globally. So what do you think could form as a good example of trying to sell a product or service in given the COVID situation in the world? Anything you can think of, the top of your mind? You want to say something?
Hello.
Yeah.
Home delivery services would be given
Home
for
delivery.
vegetables and basic needs.
Yes. Yes. And if you notice some of the zip codes, even the government has banned from online services and even delivery services, and for that they have not been delivering. So that is also one way in which this a particular market by zip code has been identified, which might be a high risk zone in which these kind of services have been stalled. So this is understanding market geographically, because people are everywhere. And if you're trying to sell a particular product in a particular region, and if you're trying to scale it to other regions in the world, you might as well want to understand the people over there, their cultural practices, and their purchasing power parity, and then try to understand how your product could be launched in that particular area. So understanding geography is very important, and it's often considered a first step in international marketing. So when you are trying to scale your organization. McDonald's is a fantastic example of how it has used and leveraged geographic market segmentation for literally creating a hegemony of its products globally. Last time we had discussed that cash on delivery specific to Indian market is also one of the types of changes that Amazon has done. And so for a moment, I would like you to think about, before I go to McDonald's, think about food delivery services in urban markets. So that is also a very recent revolution in cities, tier 1 and tier 2 cities in India. What do you think, if they launched it only in urban markets, why not in tribal and rural markets? I mean, the answer seems obvious, but if you think from geographics, market segmentation of point of view, how likely would it succeed or not succeed?
Usually in rural or tribal, people doesn't accept these things easily.
Hmm.
So they tried for
So they are
the
not very open.
yes, ma'am. We can say they are open, but they try to be more nearer to the nature, and that particular statement that try to be near to the nature, they tries to be away from all these things that are artificial to them.
Okay, okay. So this reminds me of how some of the Indian village communities have said no to the vaccine of COVID also.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so sometimes what happens is that uh, people belonging to different regions, because of their cultural practices and their context, might behave in a manner which we may not expect readily. And that time we have to sort of uh, create alternative ways to reach them. If we are truly convinced that the product could be useful for them and they are hostile to the product, then it helps to understand in a deeper level that how they may be converted into friends from foes. So coming back to McDonald's, McDonald's try to understand the people where it's trying to stretch itself and scale itself, and based on their local eating habits or the most commonly savored food over there, they have tried to introduce their products. So McDonald's spells McSpaghetti in Philippines, which I don't think we have it in India, because they perhaps studied Philippines and their people similarly in Hong Kong. In fact, if you read about the history of McDonald's, it was started by two brothers, but it was not quite famous back then. It was only when Ray Kroc came to McDonald's that that franchisee system was started, and McDonald's quickly scaled up to as we know today. It's worth watching this documentary, The Founder, which is on Ray Kroc. It's available on Netflix. It talks about how he worked hard to take McDonald's from where it was to where it is today. One of the other examples of geographic market segmentation could be bicycle sellers who are trying to sell different bicycles to urban and rural markets. So I hope you appreciate that in all the kind of demographic and geographic market segmentation, you had to understand the people from the lens of geography and demography, because people and your customers are everything when it comes to business. The better you know your customers and what they need and what they currently don't think they need, then you have a upper hand in selling or trying to promote your products and services. So this is just a representation of countries with McDonald's and without McDonald's. What are your observations when you look at this sort of infographic?
Africa means doesn't have that much area that covered McDonald's, It may be again that's due to the reason they are usually primitive in nature and as compared to the other bird.
Okay.
And ma'am,
Any other?
due to the geographical region also in the Greenland, north of North
Yes.
America, there they are not able to provide that service. That's why there is no McDonald's there.
Yes. So as you can see that McDonald's has quite a good establishment for all over the world, and that is certainly a case of worry also, especially now that COVID has exposed the importance of baseline health, because mostly people who have comorbidities and early existing diseases are more prone to succumb to the virus. Not to say that there have been cases in which people who did not have any comorbidities have also become victims to the virus. But I think the uh, common observation has been that baseline health remains very important when it comes to the immune system of our body. So you might like to rethink next time you visit McDonald's. Coming to the next type of market segmentation, it is called as behavioral market segmentation. So in this one, you're trying to understand the behavior of your customers and how a potential customer is acting and how he or she is interacting. So sometimes when you visit some websites, they ask you to give permission for accepting cookies or not. That is what they are trying to do when they get your data. They try to understand your purchasing habits, spending habits, what else you are browsing, and how you're interacting with a brand. Sometimes you must have noticed that if you prepare your cart but do not check out, what happens? Have you
Ma'am,
ever had this
please,
experience? Yeah.
ma'am, please repeat.
So sometimes what happens is that you might prepare a cart if you're trying to buy something online and you do not check out the cart. Maybe it's Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, or any other website. What do you notice happens? Have you ever noticed something peculiar when you stop
Ma-
midway? Yeah.
Ma'am, after 10 or 15 minutes, they send an email you didn't check out.
Yeah.
Like sometimes on Swiggy,
Yes.
and also many a times if you're eating habits that you always have an ice cream in at night,
Hmm.
they make sure that at a celebration time like Raksha Bandhan or like that, they'll pop up the same ad in their
Yes.
in
Right.
the interface so that you
True.
buy the same thing again.
Absolutely. So what they are doing is they are tracking the information, and when a particular date comes up, and they try to see that there was some event lodged against this particular candidate's name, they try to remind the person. This also happens in fundsandpedals.com. So if you sent a birthday cake to some of your friend on their birthday, and next year the same date comes up, they remind you. So this is essentially what is happening in the behavioral market segmentation. They have understood, they are trying to understand your behaviors, and depending on which category you fall into, they try to trigger the messages. Sometimes what I have noticed is that when I put my card but do not check out, sometimes they send me an email saying there is a 10% discount code. So what they are trying to do is that they are trying to complete the purchase that I left in between by luring me into discount and everything. So that is also one of their strategies to understand the behavior of a customer and then try to convert him or her. So
Ma'am, and
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have one thing too, that sometimes when I put something in my cart and I do not buy the thing, but
Mm.
when I'm scrolling Instagram or something, the same product ads come in my Instagram, or the similar product ads come in my Instagram, to go to the Amazon website and check them out too.
So how does that make you feel when you see it?
Sometimes I feel that they are getting into my privacy.
Yeah. So sometimes we are just amazed that, I mean, how come they know that this is what I was browsing some moment back.
Ma'am, even more peculiar thing is means that I was totally in amaze that our family was sitting and we were just discussing for something, and my mobile that is net on and even the speaker is on. That's normal, speaker is on, and when I go just for the first sight, the whole things that we are just talking, it's showed up. Then it means that they even catch our voices and show up the things.
Yeah, yeah, true. I mean, that can sometimes be scary also. And these are just few of the details which we're talking about products. Sometimes, like, for example, our personal identity document, let's say passport number and Aadhaar card number, because we are often use these information, and it is also very easy for such kind of information to leak. And sometimes frauds in the name of these personal identity cards are also quite common when it comes to online things. So there could be three types of visitors: new visitors, returning visitors, that means who have not purchased anything, and returning clients, so customers who have purchased things, but so yeah, they have purchased things and they have come to purchase again. So depending on the nature of the visitor, the web interface customizes the message to be shown. So if it's a first time visitor, they might say, hey, learn about our latest collection. But if they notice that you came before but did not purchase an item, then they might want to convert you into a customer by showing you some advantage of buying a particular product or services. So in fact, those of you who do not have Amazon Prime and you make a purchase on Amazon, every time you make a purchase on Amazon, it might tell you that for a faster delivery, join our Amazon Prime account. Have you noticed this?
Ma'am, it
Yes, ma'am.
happens in Zomato also. It asks us to buy Zomato Gold.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're tracking your purchase and your behavior habits, and then trying to remind you or trigger you to buy certain products and services the next time. So the question that arises is how comfortable you are knowing that your interaction with a particular website or particular app is monitored. What is your level of comfort when you know this information? So does it bother you or does it not bother you, or you are okay with it? What do you think?
Ma'am, it bothers, but still, if it gives us better recommendations on the products we might get for ourselves, it's good in a certain way also.
Okay, yeah, that is one way to look at it. Anyone else wants to share something? Okay, so sometimes, yes, it could be useful because sometimes they might recommend you a product which you might not have searched on your own, and getting this extra piece of information might turn out to be useful
Ma'am,
to you. Yeah,
I have something to say about this matter.
yes,
It's okay if they keep the data with them and they use it to recommend things that are better. But the only concern for means that when they share that data with other companies that I have no connection with, and they provide data about me to them, and I start getting their recommendations or on recommendations on their apps or website.
Yes, so that is a bit contentious, and I understand that none of us would want data breach to happen. But you see, that is why there is an agreement that when they are asking you to accept cookies or allow the location or block it, so essentially that is what they are trying to ask, and sometimes we also provide the consent. So I hope you appreciate that how interconnected we have become in today's world, and that the degree of interconnectedness that we share with each other and with the hundreds and thousands of companies which are floating on the market, it is literally mind-boggling. So if you tomorrow you start your own firm and company, it will definitely prove to be an advantage, the nature of interconnectedness. But when it comes to customers, there is a level of fear and apprehension among them of how their information and data could be misused. So that concern raised by Siddharth is quite valid. But nevertheless, we understand, now you understand that next time you get an advertisement popping on your computer screen or your mobile or any other notification, certain of your behaviors are being tracked. Now the more examples as we have discussed is already online e-commerce websites and targeted approach focused on purchasing the habits have been found to improve the conversion rates of potential customers. Reward programs are also one of the ways in which they look at the behavior of the visiting person and then depending on that, try to lure that customer into buying their specific services and products. Other than that, you're already aware about Amazon, Flipkart, product recommendations, you know, the kind of ads you see on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So you see there's literally what should I say, landslide of information, an avalanche of information that is being thrust upon us. And at this time, I think it becomes my responsibility to tell you that do not believe everything you watch and read. Because sometimes what happens is that you are young kids of impressionable age, and what is happening in the outer world is very agenda specific information bombarding and sharing. So they are motivated by certain kind of agendas and political agendas also. So in this age wherein we are being bombarded with information literally from every direction, it becomes our personal responsibility to be doubtful and skeptic about what we are thrown at, even the news. So that is a bit that I want you to remember. Lastly, we come to psychographic market segmentation, and this is the most challenging type of market segmentation, but also most fulfilling, because in this you are going directly one level deeper into understanding your customer and the psychology of the customers and their psyche and how they intrinsically behave as a person. So in that, you're trying to understand the motive, preferences, needs, attitude, opinion, interests of your potential customers. It could be in the form of their values, attitudes, lifestyle, interests, subconscious beliefs, motivation, and priorities. So when you think about these characteristics, from where do you think you can get this knowledge?
Can you please repeat?
So I'm asking, if you were to do a psychographic market segmentation, essentially trying to understand all these characteristics of your potential customers, from where could you get such kind of information?
Social media websites.
And
That
the
could
things they watch on OTT platforms.
Reviews.
okay. Social media platforms, yes, where your customers' online presence is there, you're trying to understand them definitely. So yeah, Facebook. So if Facebook tries to run an algorithm in which it tries to understand the psyche of the various users, and then it has developed a sort of summary in which they have identified people based on these categories, it might sell this data to other companies who need this data. Yeah. Another way to identify such kind of characteristics is usually doing survey, which is asking questions which indirectly help you to understand the psychology of your customers. So in that case, most of the times surveys are also done, which help you to understand these kind of characteristics. You don't ask questions directly, but indirectly you are able to identify a particular customer. So, but these are very difficult to identify because they are subjective and it demand more complex data analysis, but it is very helpful in effective marketing. So, for example, like thumbs up. What is it? What do you think that thumbs up tries to target in its advertisements? What message do you really primarily get when you look at the advertisement of thumbs up?
Man, try to target the youngsters who are filled with who are rebellious. They try to show these things, these types of characteristics.
Sorry, your voice was breaking there. Could you repeat again?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, what Thumbs Up does is they try to target the youngster people who are very young. So they show such kind of that you can do anything if you drink Thumbs Up like that,
Yeah.
and you can
So
whatever things
what
that
they're
gives
trying to say,
adrenaline rush.
adrenaline rush, yes. So they're trying to say that those who drink thumbs up have that kind of daring attitude, have a courageous attitude, and they're like go-getters. So, and most of the times we generally want to feel like that. So, they are trying to pitch in the sales of their product by selling this idea that people who are courageous and daring go for thumbs up or even Sprite. So that is one way in which psychographic market segmentation works. So that is important because it gives insight into why people decide to purchase or not purchase your product. So essentially, in all the kind of market segmentation, what you need to appreciate the fact is that you are trying to understand a particular dimension of your potential customer. That dimension could be age, that dimension could be the country from which a person hailed from, that dimension could be how a person behaves on the website, or a certain characteristics that person might have. So, people who value community and friendships more and are more environmentally conscious, some product or service might try to send them or share with them information about their product and services that these people might appreciate. And so, surveys are done to acquire such kind of information, and interview and focus group discussions and case studies are always also useful. In this sector, I think Starbucks has done some good developments. They have tried to understand the psyche of people who drink beverage, who are children, adults, and elderly. So they have tried to identify what do they want, what kind of coffee they like, and psychologically what is it that they appreciate. And they have introduced a range of their products. Talking about iPhone, they literally say that it's about privacy, and people to whom privacy matters the most, and they also have the funds available, they generally buy iPhone. So iPhone and privacy are also connected in such a manner, and privacy has become such a utmost concern in our contemporary world. So that is something that they play for their advantage. Among those of you who have heard of cult fitness, are you aware of cult fitness?
No, ma'am.
So cult fitness is a fitness thing launched in metropolitan cities. If you look, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, even Hyderabad, wherein they are promoting healthy lifestyle among youngsters, and they have introduced lots of programs. So, for example, for those who love to dance and cardio, they have launched this program. Then different dance forms like Punjabi and other kind of dance forms. So do look at this cult movement that is quickly catching up in India. In fact, they came into the market as a fitness thing, and which is radically very different from what you do in your gym workouts. They have tried to mix it up with lots of other things, and there are certified trainers. And then after making progress in this fitness market, they again expanded themselves by launching something called as cult cuisine and cult food. So wherein they sell the healthy products. So cult is a movement, I think, which is gaining a lot of momentum. You must look at its website. It is endorsed by Hrithik Roshan also, and that is one of the ways in which psychographic market segmentation was done. That you try to understand what your customers like, and then you are trying to give them based on what they like. So not everyone wants to go to gym or go for a running. Some of them appreciate like doing Zumba or aerobics for fitness, and then they launched this kind of program for these people with certified trainers, and that is how they try to sell their classes. So that was about market segmentation, demographic, geographic, behavioral, and psychographic. But what I want you to remember is that using these 4 types of market segmentation techniques, what you're trying to essentially understand is your customer, and try to understand the homogeneous group of people who you can assume to behave in a certain manner. And then you pitch your product or service to these people. So ultimately, what you're trying to understand is the people, because people are business for you. And I'm not only talking about business. Tomorrow, if you are in a particular job and working somewhere, and you are meant to understand a section of people you are trying to address. For example, your firm is based in Bangalore, but you are going on a business trip to China. And in China, culture is very different, and there is a culture gap. And you try to understand the Chinese context and Chinese culture before visiting over that area, so that you are not underprepared to handle the meetings. So essentially, it's always the better you understand people in whichever setting you are, you will excel because you understand people. So it's not only think it in the terms of entrepreneurship, business, or innovation. Think of it in a wider way. That understanding of people, understanding of their perception, emotions, and the way to communicate with them will always take you much farther in your life, wherever you are. So, coming back to market segmentation is different from customer segmentation, because in market segmentation, you are segmenting a market of potential customers. So they have not converted into your customers. They have not made a single purchase. Whereas in customer segmentation, you identify the target segment and customers who have made at least one purchase. So the kind of interaction you have with these two kind of segments in the population differs. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this was about market segmentation. I think in our next assignment, you will have to understand, going back to your innovation projects, try to understand your potential market segments on all these 4 categories: demographic, behavioral, psychographic, and geographic. And in these, so you have your innovation project, and you have the 4 ways in which market segmentation can be done. Now, for each of the way to do market segment, you try to identify, okay, let me think. Based on this particular categorization, who do I think would be my potential customers. So this is a small activity that you need to do as part of your group assignment for the market structures. I will specify more details on the class. And these are very small assignments, but they end up together to create your final assessment. So I hope that the burden is not too much. And at the same time, I also desire that you enjoy working on your assignments. I think that is more important for me than anything else. I've started checking your assignments. One thing I noticed was that there's a lot of hard work that remains to be done when it comes to written English. And most of you have written your assignments as if spoken English. But spoken English is very different from, written English is very different from spoken English. And that is something I think you can start working on right from your first year. Because by the time you graduate after 4 years, I can be sure that you would have made greater progress in presenting your ideas on paper, because that is very important. And college is the best time to